Okay. No comment, no.
Commissioners, the meeting is live.
Okay. Our third meeting of the commissioners, the stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
do we have any public comment? No, seeing none, we'll go to commissioner comment.
Yeah, somehow I deleted mine. Let's see where I put them in here. Give me just a second. Won't remember it. They have to be that, yeah. Well, okay, well, we'll start off on Tuesday, I guess. I spent most of the day in Topeka for the Kansas Association of Counties fifth annual county day. It's at the state capitol. It's great to have an opportunity to reach out and talk to not only our Kansas legislative delegation on issues and challenges we're facing here, but other county officials from around the state. Seems like every year this event keeps getting bigger and better. Builders and other county associations having tables and just everything going on. It's kind of a busy day worth of hearings. It seemed like too. We'll pop in on a few of those as well. So all in all, we're good. Glad they were able to do that. Got a little bit of press on it too. So glad they're able to put that day aside. Wednesday, I attended the annual township officials meeting out at Potsdam Hall. Always providing some good dialogue, but also gives us an opportunity to see what's happening and the challenges facing our county townships and those officials. Had a really good had several really good presentations actually. Had a lot more vendors present than I think I remember in recent years too, which is good. Well attended considering it was a Wednesday morning, and so I certainly appreciate everybody who was in attendance for this meeting. And then last but not least, I did have afternoon dialogue yesterday with a handful of department heads here at the board chambers. Discuss some questions and concerns involving the ongoing dialogue on reorganization. That's pretty much the week in a nutshell.
Well, Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon, I spoke individually with several department heads and other staff, answering questions and getting more information about the reorganization plans. Wednesday was township official annual meeting, as John said, we have several going on there. Okay.
Well, many afternoon, actually, I was with the department heads, to discuss the county organization issues. It's good to get information together. Tuesday, I attended the committee meeting with church and then had a department head. Wednesday, I do attend the annual township meeting. The agenda included presentations by Dr. Bowler on their states, by KDOT, update on projects in the county, David Galen on GIS updates, and then after a break, it included vendor roundtables. And Catherine Hensler did a presentation on the historical museum. And then Larry Wilson with LTAP did a presentation, followed by the township business meeting. So, and then lunch was provided on farmhouse catering to end the day, and the big, the steaks were beautifully lunch. So later after that, we have a total of arts meeting. I went to Medicine. That's it.
The business commissioner, first time we have the promotion of actual correction.
Yeah, okay. Well, it said something was. So, wow, you're not one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just there's a.
Well, I move to approve the tax roll correction.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to, with the tax over. All in favor?
Chair, please sign. Next, Commissioners, we need a motion to approve payroll and account pay.
Motion to approve payroll and accounts payable.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to the payroll and accounts payable. All in favor?
Aye. All three sign, please. Any minutes, Commissioners?
We'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written from the March 2nd meeting, Bryan County Commission.
Second.
So moved and seconded to approve the, minutes from the March 2nd meeting as presented. All in favor?
Senator General, the Commissioners. Any items for next week's press conferences? Not yet, well, before at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Other things. Yeah, so that's one of the things. So, 170. This is one.
You can't bring it back from that. It's not for you. It's just.
John, you know, are wrong, the big old terminal starts with women.
Yeah. I guess that's why I saw the video that I saw, yes.
I was leaving the meeting, and I heard it on, I was like, I didn't think it's early.
Remember, I don't remember it being the week before the men, I always thought it matched up or something. I know the women look good, I guess it's natty.
I just wish they would save some of those three she was saying to them.
Yeah, I know. Well,
Whereas typically the team has a game like that, the next team doesn't quite so that way.
And Texas Tech plays some defense too, so.
You might know me. I think I have old friends of mine who go to business. Huh?
Is he in the distribution?
Yeah, just he's a driver. Yeah, he doesn't drive, he is this crazy.
One likes to use one. Yeah, and there's going to be. You know, his was such yeah.
yeah.
And it's.
You know, it's like.
Where he.
Still run, is it UPS still run Paul Road? The distribution center?
I thought they closed that.
Where's that?
We have to go over to Westwood.
Well, they said it's a distribution.
I thought they closed the distribution center.
No, I'm sure they didn't close.
Maybe I'm thinking it was FedEx, the new thing. Yeah, if it's open, that's where it is. So over there, I mean, over there by,
Left on Freddy's.
yeah. Kind of over there, right next to the Parker Hinge thing, so it's
Well,
open.
I'm saying, we're the same side as Park Street, well, it's not as already.
Well, they're not open all day. Yeah, they're open like 2 PM to 5 or something like that.
Sure. Yeah, sounds good. You tried to get a UPS store down there.
So they will. Just supposed to be that shame.
Let's do that.
There she goes. There we go. You know, some who's the everything. So I'm with them. Yeah, we were hoping you would pray. You know, some signing had that so.
Right. Oh, wait.
You know, they have to look at service investments. Investigations and over.
That sounds odd.
That is.
Signs for one. Next block. One. And it's more like
Yeah. I hear.
That's a little bit better than something. So it like them totally discovered, they just read to the. Or some, really, some pieces, that's all.
And some of that worse than this, very sturdy, you know.
Yeah. I was there. There's that. And then there's the one.
Yeah.
I didn't know. In my carrying. Taking care of his juice. Oh. And we're just like, oh, this. That's right, that's right. So, you know, stuff that I'm gonna do general. It's, I don't know, it says it's. I don't know how much it is to do. Says me, right? So there was some stuff. He's passed away. Give me the number, I gave you that. So now, great, very sweet family. Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure, she'll be upset.
So we see that on the. We see that on the. Moves to the opposite.
We got direction. Got left out.
Yes. You guys would have made a motion on it, yeah, they were all here.
I know, it's stupid. Steve, it's good. It's Friday. It is.
I don't. Thanks for coming. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. Little bit of a change, little bit of a.
Catherine, it's part of my presentation. He'll come up and tell you all about it. Yeah. You're like, what is this? Yeah, yeah. We'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah. No homework yet. Oh my gosh, I can't stand up here this whole time.
No, okay. Oh, that's okay.
You know, what we meant to broadly, no, it wasn't in our package. You can. Thank you, guys.
You'll see. Messed with the gamma numbers. Yeah. Can you do 3:15 today, Jennifer? I'm not sure what there's one, but. Okay.
By phone or now I live.
I think it's at the office.
That's their office.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, have you send me, have you send us some, you, will you reminder?
It's done 2 minutes. Greg, didn't you have a joke you wanted to share?
Not on tape.
Oh, that is.
I know. I think I'm gonna remember that one. I'm gonna remember that one. She's up for it.
Hmm. And, you know, mine is yours.
It's not.
It's all in the delivery, you deliver it so well.
Come on, Jen.
I mean, some of us haven't heard it.
Yeah. It's a very long minute. Okay, it's a two-parter. Why did the chicken cross the road?
Why?
To get to the idiot's house.
Who's there? I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. We were hanging.
The chicken video.
Yeah, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
It's not fun.
Well, following that, please let me give you some important information. Yeah. I know. Elizabeth Ward, Human Resources Director, and here to give you the monthly update for Human Resources. So here's our numbers that we go through each month, where our current head count is at 286. And you can see we had 3 hires in February and 0 separations. So our turnover rate annualized is at 9.09. We were just slightly lower than that last month when we talked. And our average tenure is at 9.8 years. So we're kind of stabilized there. It goes up and down, maybe part of a percentage or part of a year, but that's kind of where we're sitting now. So we'll see as we move forward. We do currently have 4 openings, which is not a high number. So HR, elections, public works, and EMS. And I listed HR, but we are not advertising for that job at this point. It's the as needed, super part-time. It remains open. So I want to be transparent with you. It's not filled, but we're not advertising either. So. All right. We talked a little bit about this in some of the individual meetings we had, but some of our goals for Michelle and I are working to meet the board's expectations for human resources. So I've been trying really more in January, setting up meetings with you and trying to just talk about what it is you expect and try to get from human resources so we can meet some of those needs or foresee some of those things. We also talked, and then I brought it up to the department heads about doing a satisfaction survey to the department heads. We know that with 2 people, we aren't able to do everything. And so, we're spending a lot of time on what we're doing. And is it the right things that are, the most important to what they need to operate? So that's kind of been on pause this last month or so, talking about reorganization. We have not done anything, but still something we're hoping to do. We've already talked about it in 25 that our focus is on retention. We still have been recruiting well, filling our positions well, but we want to really focus on retention, and that's where we can have some significant financial savings as well, because as we keep people on, we don't spend the money and frustrations and the workload that we would have by having open positions. And then employee enrichment, we have some training on work-specific topics. So like we talked about performance ratings, there's other things, supervisory trainings. We've already got those good programs in play for performance as a whole. Okay, so this is actually your handout. It relates to this. Last month when I talked, I brought you a little synopsis of some of the takeaways from the Highly Effective Managers program. And I talked to you about Penny and Steve, what they're doing in the appraiser's office, and you thought it'd be great to hear from them. So they're here to give you a quick synopsis of what they've been doing.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Steve Shirley, again, Riley County Appraiser's Office, and Penny. So just kind of the general process. I know we just have a few minutes that we take is, of course, we attend the Highly Effective Managers Program session, read through the book, we have modules like a workbook as well. Then when we meet at those work sessions, we do all the discussion, and then from there, we kind of incorporate it within our office and on kind of 2 levels is how I think of it. The first level is kind of an all staff level, which I'll just kind of touch on. So what we've done on the all staff level is ask these 3 questions, and that's kind of part of the handout that you see there. So we started with, what does great customer service look like for our office? And what does effective communication sound like in our office? And what does a high-performing teammate look like for our office? And so we, again, during the all-staff meeting, write their responses down on a whiteboard, reconcile those answers, and that's kind of the result. So it's points to then when we can hold each other accountable, essentially, because we created these on our own. And so then the next level is the one-on-ones, which I'll let Penny kind of talk a little bit about.
Thanks, Steve. Good morning, Commissioners, Rich and Jacob. Very nice to meet you this morning. One of the things that we did for the Highly Effective Managers program is one of the topics he talks about is called the blind spot. So in the one-on-ones, what I've talked about with my staff is we all have areas of improvement, both as individuals, as supervisors, as well as employees. And a lot of times those are usually around difficult conversations. So we talk about having a blind spot. We don't always know what we don't know about certain aspects of our personality or things that we're doing in our job. So in having one-on-ones, we want to build trust. We want to build respect in a professional environment and have open lines of communication with our employees so that they feel that they can come to us and talk to us about those difficult conversations. And we in turn can have those difficult conversations with us as well. So one of the things that I shared with is whenever you have those difficult conversations, you kind of have that fight or flight. Your defenses go up. A lot of times you're already starting to think of what your rebuttal is, how to defend yourself versus listening to what the actual conversation, what the topics are about. So in somewhat a jest, but I do say, if you have to have a conversation with me or I have to have a conversation with you, one of the things, if you feel comfortable, is just saying, hey, Penny, I got a blind spot I need to talk to you about. Or I might say, hey, staff member, I have a blind spot that I have to talk to you about. What that does is give them a heads up, lets their defenses kind of calm down for 30 seconds or a minute, knows that what conversation we're going to have might be a little difficult to hear, but we're going to work it together. And so that's one of the areas that we've implemented from the highly effective movie. Thank you.
And just to make sure you guys know, so Steve oversees the commercial side and Penny oversees the residential side, and they've really been working really as a 3 or 4 person team in the appraiser's office to make these staff improvements. So thanks.
Thank you.
And I guess, do you have any questions on that?
Yeah. Blind spot, and you find it.
Yeah, so it kind of in the book, I actually kind of highlighted it here. So it's, and what it triggered was Tim shared that from Gallup, they do surveys, and that's what he kind of emphasized too, is even with your own staff doing a survey. And so it was interesting that 97% of the managers reported they were doing a good job and managed their employees. However, 69% of the employees who reported from the managers above stated that they had a bad manager. So I think it was kind of getting those results. And I don't know that there's necessarily like a true like definition, but like she summarized, everyone has blind spots. So it's, what they really want us to do is consider people's feedback. And again, I think of it kind of like strengths and weaknesses. We all have those strengths and weaknesses, and we want to pull those strengths, harness those, and build off those. Yet we still need to be aware of those weaknesses that we can improve on. So.
And I guess I would just add, a blind spot in management is usually considered something that you don't know, And
Yeah.
so like Steve specializing in commercial, he might say, hey, we want to, and also being the assistant, he might say, hey, we're going to do this new initiative. And it works great for commercial. But unless he talks with Penny and her staff, they say, oh, well, we get it, but this is going to be a problem, this thing. And he would have a blind spot by not knowing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a thing where we say, okay, I have a vision, I know what I want to do, but I don't know how it might affect what the consequences might be or the waves behind it.
And that's something just kind of point out, I think it is on the slide that, Penny's residential group, they kind of redid their manuals and these little special projects that we have, getting that team together, that's the important part of it too. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, guys. Okay, so that was the fun part. Now I want to give you the breakdown of the insurance impact. Last month, we talked about how Brittany and I had analyzed the impact, the employer cost to insurance, specifically health insurance, health, dental, and vision. And you wanted to see the breakdown, not just for us, but also to share publicly. So these are the impacts of insurance increases since 2020. I think there's a couple interesting points there, but obviously you can read for yourself. In 2020, employer had a 4.5% increase, 21 a 3% increase, 22 a 5%, 23, you got it on both sides. We had a 7.5%, and we took on the entire expense of dental. So previously employees had a cost to dental, and now there's no cost. 2024, we had a 5% increase, 2025, 7.5%. And then finally, what we're looking to have is the 8.32% increase. So, and these are by plan year. So they run they're fiscal, they're not calendar year. So we get that increase mid-year, July 1. The employees would get any change though in January if there were a change. So like this is the first time that the employee will have a rate increase. You saw no increase, no increase, no increase. They won't see that increase until January, but we'll start seeing it in July. And so, the total is a big number, 40.82%. Yeah.
It's not from 1 year to the next.
No, ma'am.
One, so.
Yes,
how
ma'am.
much is it, has it been going, how much has it been going up all those years? 5?
Yeah, so that's what each breakout is. So like what we're looking at, we're doing our budgets now, we'll be expecting an 8.32%. Last year, we received 7.5%. Yeah, so each one of those breakdowns is the percent per year. That last number that I talked about is cumulative, just basically it's just an addition for all 6 plan years. Yeah, so it's not, it might be helpful, it might not be helpful. You have to take it in perspective. We know, Michelle and I were talking about it this morning, and we know that some employers have seen 20% in a year. We've seen or more they're expecting more this next year. So it's not out of line with what everyone is seeing with insurance, but it is a factor for employees, for employers who have employees.
But why would, and I'm not complaining, I just wonder, we gone without increasing the employee rate for years, why? Just because it's got so much we need to, and 1.6 isn't gonna be that much to the employee.
Yeah. So actually, that's also,
Sure. It's been so much for so long.
yeah, so that's also what Michelle and I were talking about. And it's one of those things where we don't get to decide. So it's something that's set by the state because we use the state employer's health plan.
Oh, that's it.
Yes. So the only input that we have is Michelle has been advising on, they kind of have a reform group on a couple of things. And so she is acting on the advisory board for the state. So we have a voice, but it's probably similar to how you,
One pays in 6 or 7 years, 1.6% in 7 years isn't much.
well,
For the employee.
remember, this is also percentage, not dollars. So they are actually paying dollars more as well, but the percent of the total that they're paying has not changed. Does that make sense? So like if 1 year, is this related to, okay, yeah. If 1 year the total cost was $100 and we paid 5%, so then, or we paid 90%, right? So we paid $90 and they paid $10. And then the next year ours goes up, well, the whole amount could also go up. So the whole amount went up to 150. Now we pay 92%, but their dollar amount still increased by depending how much the rate went up. So again, like it's difficult because you're talking about percent, which is how we do our budgets. And also the dollar amounts that we pay and that the employees pay does change year to year as well.
Good.
I can put it, yeah.
Get it?
Well, I maybe need to put it into a spreadsheet for you
Yeah.
because this doesn't show you how much we're actually paid.
The employer group never changed.
Well, there's no percent increase.
No percent. So they pay, I don't remember what the numbers are, they pay 20% or whatever.
Yes,
I don't
it depends on the plan.
So they've always paid 10%, or whatever it is, but now next year they'll have to pay 11.6.
Yes, that's correct. But that dollar might be going up significantly. It is a little bit like valuation. Yes, that's what I'm trying to explain. The percent has, and I should have, maybe I put that wrong, no percent increase. So there's been no percent increase to the employee. Yeah.
And there's some, it's called 10, whatever it
Yeah.
is, employee base, they keep saying, even when the rates go up. But if they go up, their stays the same, then why does ours go?
Well, again, because the dollar amounts are changing, so then our percent goes up to cover more of the dollar amount. But let's say the cost goes up 20%. No, that doesn't gonna work. I think I need to put it in a spreadsheet for you with the dollars and the percents. Mhm. Yeah, we'll just have to pick one employee plan. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, and I think that's fair. I mean, we were focused on percents because that's how we do our budgets, right? The percent of the salary and how much the employer is paying. But I think you have to see the dollar amount too. Yeah, I'll do that.
I wanted to be sure the commissioners did, the employee's not getting a percent increase over something we were doing internally.
Yeah.
We get that mandate from the state.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
So they tell us the employee gets this much this year, the employer gets this. Sure, that's mandated by participating in the state
Mhm.
program. But then I think what you're talking about on the other issue is Well, the employee's percent may be 0% increase, the dollar amount can be more because the premium's going up.
Yes.
each year. So they're having more withheld, even though it's not a percentage increase, but because the premium plan is going up. Then what you have to realize too, is they can also change the benefit side of it as well. The state can, you know, being provided on that.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I just wanted to be sure the commissioners knew that wasn't something, the
I
percent.
thought that was, I thought he said,
Yeah.
but they said this is what the rate is, and we said how much.
Yeah, no, they
That's all
mandated
said.
to know what percentage increases, you know.
And interestingly, they tell us the dollar amount. So they tell us that the employer must pay $481. The employee must pay, whatever it is, $170. And so then that just comes out to be percentages. And so the way that we get it explained to us is very much focused on how much the employee is going to pay, how much the employer is going to pay. And then it works out to those percentages. Yeah, so I could restructure that into a dollar percentage for employer and employee on one of the plans. Make more sense. Yeah. And it's more realistic too, because percent doesn't necessarily matter if you don't know what the cost is. Yeah, okay, no problem. So just some things we're doing, but that would have budget impact, continuing to work on personnel budgets, continuing to project a 2.8% COLA. I just keep leaving it in there. That's where we're projecting. So some of our numbers, we've had 14 days average time to fill, which is a much better number than we had last month. Yeah, we had 2 really difficult positions. Yeah, and that's where I'd like it to be, somewhere in that 10 to 15 days, I think is reasonable. We did again review almost 200 applications for our positions, did 19 interviews. We had 9 onboarding events, which is approximately 13 hours. And just the 160 day, so just the way they kind of fall depending on which month they're hired. It's a lot of 6 hours of employee relations and mentoring. We had 17 compliance events. We are working on positions, and that number's high, the 9 PDs, but that includes the transition for emergency services. So kind of reworking the chiefs, and there's about 8 of them there, so 7 maybe, and then we've worked on and completed about 13 budgets, personnel budgets. So making our way with that. Anything missing? Anything you'd like to see? Anything different? Or questions? Okay, all right, well, great. Thank you very much.
Take your time. Give the dates that you have.
That's your right.
I don't know if there's anything on this or not. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Commissioners, Rich, Jacob. My name is Jake Bogley. I'm with Manhattan Brewing Company. A little upset you guys made me travel a lot further than normal, but my presentation's a lot more fun than talking about HR and insurance, but no offense. Us and Aggieville Brewing are getting together to try to plan out a May festival. For those of you don't know much about May festivals, it's a very German tradition. Obviously, there's Oktoberfest, which is really big. Oktoberfest in Germany is very much a tourist attraction, and so the locals over there, they actually throw a May festival. They call it Maifest in May, obviously, and we wanted to plan something similar to that. When we first started talking, we were like, well, we could always do it downtown, or we could do it over in Aggieville Brewing, which is way on the east side of town. I brought up the idea. It was like, I live over by Seco Park, and there's nothing goes on for adults or adult friendly type events. And a lot of it is just because it's very family friendly, very that kind of thing. So my idea was to have this MyFest over at Seco Park, and that little grass area where the state fair or the county fair is perfect location. We've gone out there and we've kind of mapped it out. And my neighbor is John Job. And so he also suggested, he's like, that's a great area to do stuff like that. And he mentioned something like they were trying to get beer sales at the county fair and all this stuff, but that was off to the side. And so that was our thought. So we started going down this path. And so we applied for this. Basically what we want to do is have a very family friendly, but have like beer, food, type event. I've ever been to Tulip Festival in Wamego. We want it to be not necessarily exactly like that, but kind of that same feel where there's craft vendors, mostly focused on like the food, the beer, having fun as a family. A lot of those houses are over there. Everyone will be able to walk to it, which is even better. But no liquor, just beer only between us and Aggieville Brewing. Like I said, very family friendly. I actually talked with John about possibly the 4-H or his department running like a blow up thing for kids where they charge a certain amount where you get like a wristband, you do it all day. I did it with my kids in Wamego. They did it for like 30 minutes, but you pay $2 or $10 for a wristband, they get it all day. But all that money can go back to either 4-H or extension or whatever it is. Like, we don't care about that. Talking about some adult games. At one point we mentioned a giant cornhole, working with like BHS or a local company to build these really big cornhole things. And we even got into the weeds and started talking about catapults, but that went away real fast. We also, there's also, if anybody doesn't know this, there's a guy in town that actually is he's like one of the top ranked players of cornhole in the nation, which I didn't know was a thing until I talked to them. And he mentioned running like an adult cornhole tournament over there as well. Again, with that money going towards a charity of their choice. It's Fox Home Innovations, the guy that works for him. But anyway, those type of things, just having some fun, like Oktoberfest style things, but making it more friendly than just planning on just drinking and eating. Making it really simple, just like music provided by a DJ. We don't want to have like big bands out there, not this year anyway, but hopefully if we can grow this, that's a goal. But yeah, that is our goal, is to make a family-friendly event over at Seco Park, something to get people over there. Like, we've done a lot of these events at Manhattan Brewing, as you guys may know, especially in the alley behind us. And yeah, and honestly, never had an issue with it, knock on wood, which is great. We feel as at the Manhattan Brewing is like, we let people just be people and just create an environment, a safe environment for people, then usually nothing bad happens. And making it more family friendly, usually we don't have any problems. So, but anyway, that is our goal for this. It's on May 16th, which is graduation weekend. Wasn't an ideal weekend to be picked, but honestly, we kind of like it. There's gonna be a lot of people in town, a lot of things to do, mostly everyone's booked up in restaurants. And so if we give something for people, especially visitors or townies to go out and do, we feel like that's actually going to be a pretty good weekend. So I think that is all I had. Did you guys have any questions for me about it?
Beer garden, stuff over there, or use that. People walk around.
So the goal would be to have the entire grass area as kind of like the beer garden, but we don't really want to limit it. Like me as a dad, I want to be able to have a beer while my kids are over there on the bounce house. I don't want to be limited to one area. And the biggest reason to that is like families like to be able to walk around and do so. I like to walk around and shop and stuff. So the goal would be to have the whole area. If we had to limit it to a beer garden, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Like, we'd be fine with it. But I think as an overall, making the event what it should be, we just open it up to that entire grass area.
Here, when it comes to the restrictions on Seco Park, we have a couple of resolutions out there that are pretty restrictive on the use of alcohol. So in order to allow this to happen, we're gonna have to kind of revisit that resolution. We're gonna have to adjust it quite a bit. Probably accomplish that. It can be done, so I'm not necessarily worried about that, but it will be a little bit of a process. Traditionally, we made, well, I'll just explain. It's a blanket prohibition on alcohol, and then we write in the resolution a very specific exception for yeah, it's fair. And so we would want to, I guess, we would either consider adding another exception. We could do it that way. We can you could lift the restriction itself. I mean, there's different ways you guys can accomplish it, is what I'm saying. That way you pay from us in order to help us.
And if I may piggyback on that, if we do change it to where we can do more events, I mean, our goal is to do more family friendly events that involve beer over there. What we found is that it attracts more people to come out, especially more families. And for the most part, everyone's really safe with it. So we've even talked about doing an Oktoberfest out there, trying to do something more on the west side of town to get people that live in Manhattan, in Riley County, to come out and do stuff that's not just focused on downtown.
We have to do something like that in the whole area.
Yeah, yeah, I would think we get you. So you want to keep water running all the way across the park, you're gonna have to set, even you don't have the small areas, the big area, whatever, you're gonna have to have a. I don't know, fenced off or some kind of line showing people want to just wander into the park.
Yeah, and that's fine. With almost all events, we kind of do the same thing. We have little barricades or something that we can set up everywhere. It's a little bit more difficult because of how big it is, but it's not doable, so I don't think that's be an issue. And I will say this, for the most part, you just set up like a fence, like just like a quick rope around the area. You're not gonna have much issues, but we, at the same time, we will have volunteers be able to like walk around to try to make sure stuff is contained. Obviously, there might be some exceptions, someone might get out, but right.
When you're on this point, we're gonna have silence.
Yeah.
That's an open deal all the time now, so this is
Yeah.
not quite the same thing.
Yeah, downtown you have buildings that act as barriers, which helps, but.
And it's right there in the alleyway.
I know. It's like, thanks, guys.
The idea is we're down.
Yeah.
And I'll also know for commissioners that, and doing this for, prior, we display all, we are very, very, very clear.
Yes.
So, we put some strong language in there to make sure we're protected. Well, I think we did. They did absolutely fine.
Oh, yeah. The city actually has really good language on some of the events that they do in their open areas too. So we've dealt with them. And so we have the proper insurance to cover everything already.
Yeah, I remember, I think do the same thing in Lawrence and Westport, they based it kind of off of those two.
Yeah.
So.
That just loading thing, they have to carry insurance to cover.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd like to see some of these type of events taking place, so it's good.
Well, and then not to pitch you guys against the city, but the city, I think they're gonna sell beer, is it at the Seco Park, at the baseball stadiums there? So I think they're actually gonna sell over there as well, so.
Well, I think the motion was just to say, yeah, go ahead and you just,
Yeah, I forgot to go down.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve both extension department and county council to work to prepare a resolution.
Seconds.
It's been moved and seconded to, approve this, the best project that's presented. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time.
Click on this guy.
Do we have time for another crazy job? Yeah, you get to take a job. I won't remember you. I don't think I can take two of them. Not two of them in a day.
Good morning, Commissioners. Anna Burson with the Riley County Appraiser's Office here with the monthly staff update. I did a little bit more of a consolidated update this month, so I could provide a little bit more of a valuation update. Ag use, annual review and sales, that's what they're working on right now. Ag maps are going to be mailed to all agricultural use properties, property owners this year. Again, it's part of a 2-year ag use review cycle. This is to ensure properties in ag use remain in ag use. The mailers that are returned must be returned to our office. We will hold a press release later in the year before we mail. On our appraisal support side, processing changes on personal property records as they're received. They're setting values on all taxable personal property and conducting the entry quality control of all of our residential inspections. Maintaining the work files, which includes our sales, building permits, and annual review. Personal property change of value notices will be mailed on May 1st. And so again, that will be part of a press conference, so the public is aware. On the residential side, there are approximately 72 residential sales to date for 2026 with a median sale price so far of $252,000 and an average sale price of $311,209. There are approximately 40 new permits for 26, including 4 new dwellings. And there are additionally 280 permit rechecks from properties that we inspected permits for in 25. Our team's preparing to inspect sales that occurred in 2026, and they're inspecting parcels that are due for their annual reinspection. Our commercial team has, they have roughly 7 commercial sales, and that's what they're working on, including sales of exempt property. There are roughly 8 new commercial building permits for 26, along with permit rechecks that were included in that 280 numbers. So that's with both commercial and residential. Our commercial team's also inspecting properties due for their annual reinspection. On the BOTA front, the only update I have for you is we actually have some scheduled. So you can see that what we did, we had nothing scheduled, the last several updates. We have several scheduled now. May 11th and July 10th are big scheduled dates. We are hopeful that that one case that involves 2020 through 2025 will actually be held this time and not continued again. So we're hopeful to get that one wrapped up. On the exemption applications that are pending at BOTA, there's not much of an update on this list. We did get a new IRB exemption submitted this week on a residential property, covers about just under $900,000. That's the max that's allowed on this particular exemption. It looks like it's one of a 2-part exemption. The total allowable exemption is 1.8 million. So we only have one piece of that. I anticipate we'll get another piece of that here soon. So now just to kind of get into the value change, values are set, value notices went out last Wednesday, the 25th. Property owners have through the 26th to appeal, but the average sale price, this is just going all the way back to 1986, and it just can really show you the amount of increase we've seen in the market from then to now. So 2025, that average sale price is $300,331. Here is a preliminary look, and the reason this is preliminary is because we don't certify to the clerk until June. That's the statutory certification date. Right now, we're in informal appeal season with a parcel count of roughly 25,121 parcels. The overall increase in appraised value as a whole is 3.35%. As you can kind of see, of that appraised value, 50%, just over 50% is residential, 38.49% is exempt properties, and 7.46% of that appraised value is your commercial. And it just kind of just shows the increase by those different types. And again, this is the appraised value. Additionally, here's our preliminary assessed value change. And so what I'm showing you here is residential and assessed valuation increase between 25 and 26. It's roughly up 6.15%. Now, that includes new construction, okay? And so that's important just to remember. New dwellings, we had a lot of new construction in the last year, so that is included in there. Farm sites, they went up just under 2%. Ag use is down again this year. It was down last year. Commercial assessed values up 7.66%. Vacants up 3.22. Not-for-profits down 17%. Usually what that means is something that was maybe not-for-profit in the prior year either went taxable or went exempt. And so that's why you'll see sometimes that those fluctuations in not-for-profit and others up just over 1%. This is really the big slide. This one just paints the picture on why property owners are feeling that tax burden. And so this is the assessed value as of the preliminary assessed value for 2026. $867,190,267. That's a total increase from 25 of 5.94% of all of the different property types. 71.17% of that assessed value is residential. So when you consider with the appraised value, just under that 40% mark of the exempt, you take all of that off the table, the assessment rates are applied to the different taxable property, and this is where that burden is. This number is up over last year. That burden keeps climbing on the residential property owners, which is why they feel that tax burden so substantially. And so I think this is just a really important slide. Again, your farms, 3.22%, ag land, 2.19. These others are your vacants, your not-for-profits and others, but the biggest burden is really your commercial and your residential, as you can see on this slide. So this is a value change summary. Now, this does not include that new construction, really just trying to focus on the existing properties and what they're seeing this year. So on the ag use side of it, 75% of the properties are going up 1% or less. 25% are going down. 50% actually are either not changing or going down. So this is your quartiles, your 25, 50, that median, and 75. And so then on the commercial side, you've got 75% of the properties are seeing 5% or less. You got 25% that are going up nothing, 0.02% or less. So they may be going down. And then the other 25% are going up 5% or more. On the farm sites, again, on the median, they're going down 1.58% is the middle. So 50% of the farm sites are seeing a decrease. 50% are seeing, less than 1% or better. The 75% are 2.5% increase. So the increase on the farm sites is not as substantial. On the residential side, 50%, right there at the middle is 5%. On the median of residential, that's not including our new constructions, right around that 5% mark is the median increase. 25% are going to see 8.5 or better, but 25% are going to see 1% or less, 1.5% or less. And so same with the vacant and all overall, on the middle of all property, 3.28% is the increase if you consider all the different classifications. And so again, this does not include that new construction, but is very important just to show. Here's another slide. I put this together for a presentation I did with the Chamber of Commerce. And previously I've only shown what does the taxes look like for a $300,000 home? Looking at this property tax formula, it's here for you. It's very simple to look at. But I think the thing that's different is when you really look at a $300,000 home versus a $300,000 commercial property, that tax burden is greatly different. So on the left is a home at $300,000 at 11.5 assessment rate with last year's mill levy in the city of Manhattan. This is including all taxes, so city, county, school, all the pieces that make up that mill levy. The tax bill is roughly $5,285.71. That does not include the school mill exemption. But on a commercial property at an assessment rate of 25% for a $300,000 property, that tax bill is roughly $11,490. So that's a lot bigger tax bill on the commercial side. So we hear it quite regularly, and I thought it was a really good visual just to share. On other projects, 2025 the protests are complete. The 2026 value notices were mailed again Wednesday, the 25th. The deadline to request an appeal is March 26th. I have been involved in other presentations. I've attended some different things to try to make sure to just express and share what the appraisal process is. How does it work? Why do we do it? It's about ensuring that equitable distribution and also just kind of reminding the people that the taxes are outside of the appraiser's office control. Additionally, legislative issues. I've stayed on top of a lot of the different legislation. The one bill that's out there right now, the SCR 1616, that's probably one of the ones that's it's being put out there as a cap on assessed value protection amendment. That's very interestingly painted. It's essentially, it's not going to help the people they're intending to try to help. It is going to create an inequitable distribution of that tax burden. Specifically, this one's wanting to go all the way back to 2022 evaluation. 3% on top of the 22 assessed value is what they're looking at, not the appraised. Would be the 27's valuation, which would just create havoc overall. Staffing, it would require increased staffing. We would have to look at every single property and every single back 5 years to determine which ones are eligible for an increase, which ones are not. You know, every year we would have to keep doing that over and over. So it's very, very unmanageable. That's one of the more concerning ones that are out there. There was a recent one, SCR 2644. If the value changes in an appeal, it limits the value increase to 5% each year unless the county hires a fee appraiser to appraise the property. Again, another one of those bills that there's going to be a cost to it to the public. It's intended to save money. It's not really going to save money. It's going to cost the jurisdictions more. And so, again, just keeping an eye out for the different legislation, trying to assist Jacob if he has questions as it pertains to submitting any kind of testimony, being available to answer questions. Do you guys have any questions for me? Well, thank you, commissioners. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's just a bit. She was concerned we might not have 5 minutes. You okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Phillips, Budget and Finance Center, here to present the budget calendar for 2027. So first, I do know that I have a motion in here. I'm not asking you to make any final decisions today. If we need to have more dialogue about a baseline or changing any dates, it's just normally we have a motion in here for the calendar, so I just kept with the standard and open to obviously more discussion on this as well. Here is the 2027 budget calendar. I am dropping everything. One thing I wanted to point out on here, on these meetings where we have budget presentations, on May 11th, that is your county officials luncheon. So I didn't know if you wanted to adjust that date, if we were even going to have a county officials luncheon. Cindy Cabriel, suggested maybe that be the day that I present all of my budgets because I have, several that I present to you all. And then we could still have time for the county officials luncheon. Any thoughts?
That's too much to do on one day
Okay,
with budget hearings and then trying to sandwich that in there. Change it to a different Monday or add an extra day for hearings.
okay.
Is that a county official luncheon had like what, 3 topics or something?
That's in May. We're talking.
Yeah, we're talking about May, sorry. Anybody else have thoughts about that on maybe not having budget presentations that day and I can move it to another day?
We're not having afternoon presentations
Okay, no afternoon presentations on the 11th.
if we don't have it at all.
Okay,
It's sandwiching quite a bit one Monday.
it is. Okay, so I will plan for no afternoon presentations, but you're okay with having some in the morning?
Yeah.
And maybe I'll just schedule myself that day up until the luncheon. Okay. Okay, May 14th. Currently only the afternoon is available.
is what I have been told for scheduling. So you would have your regular board meeting, we would break for lunch, and then we would just have the afternoon to present.
What day of the week is that?
That is a Thursday. Any thoughts?
We have a break between. I don't know about John.
I don't either. Yeah. It's always tough to schedule this stuff. Figure it out.
Well,
You may need an extra day or two somewhere on the calendar.
Okay, so just add more time.
Well, if that's what we need to do, yeah.
Okay.
It's 2 months out, I'm not gonna know just shit. Right.
I mean, we have to have an afternoon.
Oh.
As
We typically do.
there's no other time
Mhm.
in the mornings.
Yeah.
Seems-
Well, and also it's your guys' agenda. So I mean, and anybody else correct me if I'm wrong.
everybody else.
Except for public hearings.
Yeah, so if you have, regular public hearings, then we won't change those, but if you would just have staff updates.
I think
You-
we've done that in the past.
I
haven't
think
we?
it was staff updates and then you guys, additional department and evaluation.
You'll give us evaluation on that.
Right,
Yeah.
so it's booked up your nights. But yeah, we can,
Evaluation.
I mean, budgets are big, but.
Well,
I
and
don't
those,
mind on that one day, your day, I mean, Monday update.
Oh, on the 11th?
staff update can just be sent to us email in May, and those department heads could actually give their budget presentations during that time.
Okay,
It'll be all right on that schedule. Who is on with that second Thursday? Who's on the list?
Yeah. That you guys prefer to do it, but we have, in the afternoons, years prior, and we've had special days for. But yeah, sessions.
We haven't done that since I've been here.
Tradition, yeah, done many times.
Must have been a long time ago.
Shouldn't be any reason to have to do that with anything internal. It would be the external
External.
departments or agencies.
Mhm. I do actually already have one scheduled.
It's not one day, right? One presentation that you make. It's
Well, you have several,
several.
there's 4 days. But if you wanted to just have one day specifically where you only had outside entities come, or even just if you wanted to dedicate one day to
Yeah.
department heads.
You think about them all at the same time.
Get all of them. Yeah.
Okay. So I will say I already have one outside entity scheduled because they're trying to get it on their schedule already. And so May 14th is the day that I already have booked for one outside agency. So if you wanted to do that day as the day you hear all outside agencies.
I think it'd be, if it happens,
Okay,
as opposed to jumping back and forth.
Jumping back and
okay, great.
You're gonna give all those agencies a chance to.
Mhm.
say it's-
You can send, you just send that email from that stuff.
Yes. Mhm. Absolutely. Mhm. Okay, I am just taking notes real quick to make sure I have this all correct. And then baseline. So,
I think you're gonna have to wait on that, Brittany, because I think we're gonna have to develop 2 budgets this year. We're gonna have to develop the budget that we want. We're gonna have to develop a budget with a 3% cap. And I don't know how we wanna do that or if we wanna do that. But that legislation is working itself through and something's going to pass. I don't know what it's going to end up looking like, but something there is gonna pass.
I don't know if it is the most efficient use of our time to create 2 budgets. So I think, and I will say, last year we were about at that 3%.
Yeah.
So I think we can manage that with department heads if I know what your guys' direction is.
We need to find out what our budget is before we worry about adjusting it to 3%. But also, if the election isn't till November this year, is it gonna kick, I mean, is it gonna kick, can it kick in this year?
It can,
Yeah.
They can backdate it basically.
yeah, I mean, it depends on when the law gets passed, then whether or not, when they could set it like they did the battery, it's gonna be effective with the publication. It depends on how they did that.
How they word it, because it has to go to the vote.
Yeah,
Petition, they're doing it
no,
by petition now.
yeah, this one's not,
Let's talk about the Senate bill.
yeah, the Senate Bill 1616 will have to be a constitutional amendment, not go to a vote. This 3% petition.
Oh, that's
that-
3%, oh, okay, yeah, I'm getting them all down.
Yeah. and we'll just-
3% value.
Is the difference between mindsets,
Yeah, we'll take on others.
is basically what this is.
But, we might.
That's true, if they pass that, they can make it effective yearly, it seems, so they can do.
Well, they'll probably shoot for July 1st is what I'm imagining, because that's when the state budget works and they're not gonna be concerned about where our budgets land, so.
Yeah.
Well, I think we just need to work on ours, see, and then at the end, we can see where we are, just
Okay.
rather than start at 3%, see where we are.
Yeah.
Within a month, we're gonna. Legislation's actually gonna go
Yeah.
through civil out there.
Okay, so my message to the department heads will be similar to what we have done in the past. Keep expenses minimal. We don't have anything extravagant, which nobody does, but
That right up, I mean, it's. I mean, Twitch said it's what they do anyway, I don't think
exactly.
anybody's buying Cadillacs for their.
No, definitely not. And then agency appropriations. Did you want to,
Keep what we've been doing, what did we say? What if it's 1%, that would be one of the, yeah.
1% of, was it the mill? I'd have to go back and look.
Just whatever we've done,
Mhm.
because we kind of kept it to that.
It was
last 2
1 mil,
years.
exactly. It was 1 mil, sorry,
Okay, yeah, no,
not percent, yes. Yeah.
yeah,
So you want to keep with that
Yeah.
1 mil. So, I won't necessarily ask them, I'll ask them the same thing I did last year, keep it relatively flat. And then of course you guys can adjust however you need to. Okay. On here, I have not listed new and expanded positions. And in the past, you have still wanted to hear them. I just didn't put it on the calendar this time. No real reason,
separate
just-
line after all the other stuff, separate
Yeah.
presentation.
Yeah, COLA will be its own separate presentation as well. And I'm thinking that we will probably need to do it at the same time. The new and expanded and the COLA is generally around the same time. Any thoughts on new and expanded positions?
Have to hear what people say.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, we're gonna have some.
Yeah,
Expense, yeah.
okay. Okay, so,
No, I'm a no on those.
I know.
Sooner what direction we're fixing to head.
I said it would be the reorganization, doesn't that count new positions?
The one will for sure, but that's the
You
one
think
I'm
so?
focused on.
One, well, I see.
But that was not gonna be on there right away because we haven't developed anything for
I know, but we
Okay.
will, it will need to be in this budget.
it. Yeah, it will.
That's
And we can hardly do
fine.
anything outside of that, I guess is my point.
Discuss later.
Yeah, I think that can be part of maybe part of our conversation later this morning,
Yeah.
because I think some of us believe that is going to be more than one position that you are going to need to add because of the reorganization, so. We will put a pin in that one.
We went from all positions people went to ask for, we only folks that have.
But say we present, the chances are slim, but they can make the presentations, sometimes we get convinced that,
Mhm.
depending on what's going on in the department. I still want to hear what they have to say.
Perfect. Is there any other thoughts, questions on this calendar? Or baseline or anything else that I have presented? Did you want me to bring this back for further discussion, or are you okay with what we discussed today? And sending this calendar out to department heads? It'll be on that same day as COLA, so June 18th.
You could just add, add it back in so we see the final one to bring back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you
Revise it, we talked about it, and just email it to us.
Well, I'd have to bring it back to get formal approval.
Right, yeah, you have to
Yeah.
bring it back to.
I can't get approval
Next
via
meeting.
email.
Get
Okay.
it to us.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I can send it out to you, but I will formally present and request approval on Monday,
Okay.
if there's time on the agenda on Monday. Okay.
It's too full on.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioners.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jacob Anson, Riley County Councilor. Here for administrative work session. Just going to talk briefly about a couple bills, of course, as the legislature here kind of moves through and my view of things, where things stand, maybe a couple bills that we should keep an eye on. And just a reminder that I have Tom Bruno going to zoom in, I believe Monday.
Yeah, it said Monday.
It's on Monday, okay. So he'll be on Monday, kind of help give you his take on things and, just prepare your questions that you might have for him. And I've also sent out an email to department heads in case they have any questions they'd like to ask on any specific legislation as well. So with that said, the main bill I'd like to focus on right now is the one that's known as Senate Bill 254. And this one specifically talks about prohibiting aliens unlawfully present from receiving state and local benefits. This isn't necessarily a new requirement in a sense. What this bill does is tie the definition of what state and local benefits are to the federal definition. This is an extraordinarily complicated system, but what the intent is that they believe at a certain point, the U.S. Attorney General is going to give an opinion on kind of what qualifies as federal benefits, what qualifies as state and local benefits, and there's going to be guidance provided at some time in the future. Right now, that doesn't impact things such as WIC. WIC is not included as a state and local benefit, or it's accepted out of it. But in the near future, and what this bill does is now tying it to the federal definition. That may change, and that will just depend on whether or not the U.S. Attorney General provides an opinion as such. So it's something I've been talking with our folks here at the health department about, and just working with them on that particular piece of legislation. It's one that obviously has an impact, and they're going to have to screen individuals. It's about immigration checks, making sure that these people are here lawfully, and they have to use a certain system in order to accomplish that. That's the ultimate ask that's within the bill. So we're keeping an eye on it, and I'm talking with the folks in the health department about it. So that's and it seems to be moving through, which is why I put it kind of high on my list. Is I think that one's likely to get through without much issue. It'll probably face a veto by the governor if I had to guess, but good chance it'll probably be overridden. So, any questions on that particular bill or legislation? All right. Moving forward, there's also a House Bill 2437, and this one involves our election folks. It requires some annual reporting from them, just about voter records and registration. The goal from the legislature, from my view, is they're just trying to clean voter rolls and get information on who's on the rolls and who may need to be purged out of it. That seems to be the goal. I haven't had a chance quite yet to work with Rich on what he thinks about the impact will be for his office, but that's something we'll certainly want to talk about. Because that is another one that,
That's gonna be my question. What do the election people
We talked
think?
about it this morning, it's something we talked about a little bit yesterday on our statewide call. We have a statewide call, Secretary of State's office and all the clerks and election officials once a week, so that's very beneficial. So Brian Cassidy does a great job on top of that stuff. Very likely to happen. I could see it, even the current administration.
Is it, is it new reports or just?
New reports.
But it's
that
definitely-
are
is
just
it-
purging, that could definitely change something.
Well,
because
I don't know if it was information you have that they're just, you're gonna have to copy and send to them, or is it gonna be new?
yeah, it'll be new.
Oh,
so we're watching that. It's probably gonna go through. Like I said, we'll monitor and I guess we'll have to adjust as it comes through. And then moving on to House Bill 2745, believe that was up for hearing, obviously during our county officials day at the state house. And, I think they had one scheduled for yesterday.
It was
as well.
yesterday.
I don't see anything, scheduled for that particular bill either, but that does appear to be the one has the most interest as opposed to the Senate concurrent resolution. And just a reminder that the House version is that 3% cap and then the protest petition procedure. There seemed to be some confusion among the legislators there on the committee, that they were thinking a vote would have to happen by the people in order to enforce that, but that is not the case. It's simply if a valid protest petition is submitted, then 3% cap is in. And that's how it's written right now. There seemed to be a lot of discussion of where things are at on what does the threshold look like? That seems to be really what the discussion's about. What is appropriate threshold? So the idea of this being a limiting piece of legislation for our property taxes is likely to go through. It's just where's that threshold going to be? And that's what we're trying to determine right now. You could argue that the way it's written, there are some counties where if there's a big enough family and they all are eligible to vote, could probably tank a county's budget for some of these counties. It's certainly possible because right now, the way it was admitted, I mean, that threshold is just incredibly low.
that's what I was saying, that, the threshold thing is it's been bouncing around.
Yeah. And that seems, and I'll be interested to hear Tom's opinion on that and that, can these folks reach consensus on where that threshold would be, or is that going to be the nail in the coffin for it? I don't know. It's certainly possible.
I think another one that needs to be discussed that's not being discussed is a time frame on that. Because if we're supposed to have our budget adopted and basically, done by October 1st, I mean, does that stretch all the way through an actual general election in November, and then we have to come back and adjust? That's why I'm saying that the two-part budgeting thing is something that's maybe not off the table with this, but do they do that earlier in the year? What's the timeline on that?
Yeah. Just gonna have to see. I
Yeah.
imagine that it's gonna be admitted quite a bit. And nobody knows what.
It's already
will-
bounced around.
Yeah.
Quite a bit, it seems, from what I've tried to follow.
Yeah, it has. So just keeping an eye on it. It's interesting. No hearings are currently scheduled, but with the way the session goes, I mean, they'll schedule it almost the day of, it feels like sometimes. So we'll try to keep an eye on the best I can and advise you guys as it goes on. And then, of course, our other piece of property tax legislation is that Senate Concurrent Resolution 1616. I know Anna touched on it a little bit earlier. There is a hearing today on this particular piece of legislation. I'll plan on listening to it, kind of see what the sentiment is from the House as far as what they think of this bill. This one doesn't seem to be as palpable to the folks as the protest petition from what I gathered, but we'll have to listen to that hearing and see what they say from there. And one other thing of note is that it appears the Senate has passed their budget for negotiations with the House. Not that that impacts us too much. but something to keep an eye on. Their budgets seem to be going through and they're gonna be up in negotiation, so we'll see where that lands. That's all I really have for my administrative work session, unless, did you guys have any questions on any individual projects that my office is working on? All right. Thank you very much.
So, good. It was a nice month. That should be meeting, right? Yeah, yeah. That's what it's. I'm thinking. Stop.
What are you trying to do? You want people to like me? This one? No, is that where you're at? That's where. It's. Jacob. Something good. There you go.
You trying to find,
Yeah, it's all.
probably better to go down to the left and go all the way down and to scroll through.
Yeah.
Here. I looked at that, I don't know.
There you go.
Okay. When it was on the other, it wouldn't go there before. Right there.
There we go.
So 2 minutes. Clock skating.
Perfect. What? Oh.
Good. Russell?
Morning, Commissioners. Russell Stuckey, Emergency Services Director, Fire Chief. Got my February staff time report for you. A lot of the normal stuff as usual. One thing we have on the 911 side is have a contract on Jacob's desk that he's reviewing for us for maintenance of the HVAC systems at each tower site shelter building. So that's something that hasn't been in place, but the stuff is starting to age where it needs more maintenance. And so I thought it was best to get a contract in place, which limits the extra cost if something goes wrong after hours. So, and just a good practice to keep that HVAC equipment up to snuff. Of course, monitoring severe weather, and whether you saw the email this morning or not, we could have some tonight and tomorrow. So everybody be aware of that. On that same note, I think Lori might have mentioned it the other day, but we're hosting the annual National Weather Service Severe Weather Talk. That'll be March 24th at 7 p.m. at Potter Fall out at Seco Park. So that's obviously open to the public and everybody. So just another plug for that. Anybody that's interested in that severe weather information and that the National Weather Service office comes and gives to us. They're doing fewer and fewer of those in person and wanting to do more and more online. They offer some online ones, and so anybody's more interested in attending one online and or can't come to it that night, you can go to the National Weather Service's Topeka office webpage and find the online versions when they're hosting those. Part of the reason is just like everybody else, staffing and economics of mileage and everything. They're trying to do fewer and fewer of the in-person ones. I think the larger population areas get preference on doing the in-person ones versus the smaller, lower populated locales. So this morning, Lori is at the CPER committee in Topeka presenting on our commodity flow study that we had done with HMEP grant funds. And so that's a project that's been completed. Robert's been working on a lot of different things with the high hazard dam plan reviews and making sure they're all up to date. He's also been working with Corey on cybersecurity incident annex for the local emergency operation plan. We hosted the Railroad 101 class on the 5th and had both EMS and fire and MFD staff attend that. Then we're also working on developing training, active shooter, active violence training with USD 378, 384, trying to get the tabletop set up for them. As far as fire things, you can see our different applications and how many we have on probation. We're doing pretty good on fairly consistently getting new applicants every month, so that's good. But of course, with the college and military, and then we have the constant rotation out to people getting assigned different places and graduating from college, and so it's a constant ebb and flow there. We have the new UTVs pretty well ready to go. The new deputy chief truck is it's in service. It has a couple more things waiting to come in, but it's in service and ready to be used, along with the pumper tanker that will become pumper tanker 115 that we bought for Texas used. It's just waiting on some lettering, and then we'll try and get it up here to a commission meeting so you guys can look it over here in the next couple of weeks once we get the lettering all done. We've been working with the insurance services office, which is the ISO rating, which is what dictates insurance rates for businesses and homeowners on their property insurance, and in particular the fire portion of the property insurance coverage. We were a couple years out from needing to redo that, but with the merger of the Riley City Fire Department with us, they were due for theirs. And so that's going to prompt us to go ahead and do ours a little early. Everything indicates that we should maintain what we have.
and maybe even increase in some areas. And if it holds true, will actually improve the city of Riley's ISO rating. I know there was some discussion here that that would go the other direction by us taking over in preliminary meetings with the ISO representative. It looks like it'll stay the same and maybe even get better, so that's a good thing. We had numerous members attend the Kansas Forest Service Faller 3 course, and basically that's a chainsaw course on how to safely use chainsaws, cut down trees, make fire breaks from that activity. And those are some national certifications for the ones that actually choose to take the test. And that's another thing that, you know, to highlight is in the list of all the department members that were attended that class are on there. They, you know, another thing to highlight there is obviously common sense tells you this is true, but you know, the volunteer firefighters, not only do they volunteer their time to go to fires, but they volunteer their time, like these guys and I don't know if there's any ladies in this one, but guys and gals, spend way more hours coming to training sessions and working around the station than they actually do going out and fighting fires. And so they're not just volunteering to fight fire, they're volunteering to give away a whole Saturday to go take a tree falling class or a medical class or whatever kind of classes. And so just want to highlight the dedication of the volunteers and how much of how they're the ones that make the department even possible. So I think that is the majority of what I had. We can have maybe your newsletter with the run reports. One thing reviewing this that I noticed, since we switched over to the new fire reporting software, this, if you look really close, the one pie chart, the circle pie chart or whatever it is, wasn't actually matching. As we figured out this morning, it was pulling from the year-to-date stats instead of the monthly stats. And so we got that fixed this morning. So if you notice that the percentages don't exactly match up from the percentage down below to what that chart says above, we figured out why. So wonderful, getting used to new software and figuring out what to click where. So we'll have our runs per station. If you have any questions for me. Thanks.
Next commissioner, the position on resolution 1035. Then you. Good. Well. It was time, it's not there, so she needed that.
I'm watching this pilot person on that shape, it'd be really weird. But I think you're out.
Same picture. It's doing that.
It is. I mean, it's not the first, but it kind of feels like it. Yeah, those here now. That's just always exciting. Yeah, I mean. Yeah.
I wondered, yeah, no problem, it's all good. So some home shots, the energy from the home. You did my bad. So you're great. Yep. I put a little bit in, take a little bit. Hey, how do you do? You're free to stay, but yeah, probably. Okay, good. Good to see you. No, Sure.
Has me down as a presenter, right?
Yeah, go ahead. You're in charge. Your meeting.
Thank you.
Yes.
Here's the paper copy for the DocuSign.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to sign it, and then I can get a copy to Rich, and then I'll send that back as one state that way.
Not just that, I'm just kind of. Going part of the wall. Yeah.
Some will allow us to do that and others won't, because when we was like. Alright, this was so reading again. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm such a pain.
Any question?
Is that 25? Yeah. Okay, we're gonna get started, so, I'm down as a presenter, I'm not really gonna present. But, the only thing is that we decided that we wanted to hear from department heads on this, upcoming reorganization. I hope all of you have taken a look at the February 11th, letter from our David Cooper and the recommendations in it. As we go through this process, speaking to department heads, I think is really important to get everybody's input. But I would say there's a lot of us, if you want to speak or for a group or you want to speak for yourself, kind of limit that to about 5 minutes per person, so we won't be here all day. So, I would encourage you to just kind of be open and talk to us, and we can question you if we have some questions. So shall we get started? First person.
Anybody have, yeah.
Anybody have? Okay. David.
Thank you, Commissioner David Adams, EMS Ambulance Emergency Services Director. So as you know, we've a group of our department heads, about 8 of us, have met with each one of you, and we've had some very good discussion, very open dialogue and things. And first and foremost, we want you to know that we're supportive of this change to the organization. You know, we're here to help. Let us know how department heads can be involved. We'd like to be able to be involved as you do this. We do have thoughts as for how, steps as we move through this. And the first one being the decision needs to be made. Is this going to be an administrator, or is this going to be a department head? What are your thoughts there? And then that will lead into the second question, which is, depending on which way you go, where will department heads report? So because if it's an administrator, will they report to the administrator? If it's a department head, we'd assume then that the department heads would report to county commission as we do now. Another thing to keep in mind is kind of what is your timeline? Are you in consensus of 2027, January 1, or pushing it out longer, try to make it quicker? And then finally, as you're working through this, are you wanting to do this hiring through the county or HR, or are you wanting to do this through, like David Cooper had suggested, depending on what position you're doing, whether you do it externally? So those are some thoughts that we had as our group of department heads. I believe I'm speaking on behalf of that group of 8 or so that have met with you. Those are just our thoughts we thought we'd share with you.
As far as administrator, it's going to be a department, it's going to be called the administrator, but there will be a separate department head. Each department will still report to us. But the way we see it is they're more of a coordinator day to day as things come up.
Okay.
Department heads will work with them,
Mhm.
but they still report to us, still come in to our meetings to
Okay.
reports and stuff, that it doesn't have to go through them. But if they have questions, that person could possibly help things.
Okay.
As far as timeline, that's something we need a timeline. We don't have anything.
Right. Right.
And I believe and I don't know what you guys' thoughts are, whether we need to have meetings, because if we have meetings with all 3 of us, it's got to be an open meeting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Whereas if we want to have a couple of department heads and meeting with one of us to try to get an outline so that we aren't,
Okay.
but again, if you meet with one of us, it's
Right.
I think we all have a basic idea of where we're going. I don't think if you talk to one of us, it's going to be 90 degrees from what the other two think.
From talking to each one of you individually, I will say that there is not consensus
Okay,
between the three of you.
all right.
So, you know, we're here to do whatever you would like. With our group of 8, we knew, you know, then you bring in other department heads and it's a big group.
Yes.
So in between our group, we identified 4 people that we would like to assist you if we can to speak on the behalf. You know, we'll set it up for department heads to report to or to talk to their quote unquote representative so that we can share those thoughts with you.
Okay.
It'd be Corey Meyer, IT Director, John Ellerman, the Public Works Director, myself, and then Shiloh Hager, the Treasurer. So, because one of the things when we talked to you was all these department heads, that's a whole lot of information, a whole lot of talking and not much getting done. So that was our thoughts. You know, and then depending on your timeline and internal, external, then obviously you're gonna have to bring in HR to help with that, but you've got to figure out what you want to do. But I don't believe that you are in consensus with this being a department head of, you know, call it administrator or administrative services or whatever you're calling that. So my suggestion would be to start there.
What, okay, yeah, that's my question, is what don't we agree on?
I think whether it's a full administrator where department heads would report to that person versus a department head that would be there to help us, but also would still leave us open to talking directly and reporting to the commissioners. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. No, you know, one of the things we do have, we can provide as a Board of County Commissioners, we don't have to go with all the statutes.
Absolutely.
And we can,
Mhm.
we can say this is what we want this person to do.
Right, right.
And one of the things that I've always been concerned about, which I've heard from other counties, is that the department heads feel that they can't come to the commissioners. There's that person between. And I've heard that from you
Sure,
guys.
absolutely.
Which I wouldn't, I don't want that to happen.
Okay,
You would report to the way I understand it, you would report to the administrator, but that would not prevent you from talking to us.
right. So I think what you're proposing is we would report to the administrator, but we would still have access to the commission.
Yeah.
And
that's
I think that was different than what we
It's
heard
not, well,
from the
maybe
others.
that's where we're not in consensus at and we still
Right.
need to work through, but the key here is as certain institutional knowledge and background kind of leaves the county, it's important that we have somebody in place that can help with the day-to-day operations and administrative duties as needed, because we are a pretty big county. I mean,
Right.
Even by county definition. We're only here 2 days a week. Everybody would have to report to us in 3s, and you look at that, it's not logistically going to work. It's not streamlining and being effective and efficient. And so somewhere along the way, I guess we got to figure out that piece of it there. But I still see it as more of a department head type of role, that's own department reporting to us. And then everybody outside of that then would report to the commission itself. But it sounds like that's a dialogue we still need to continue to have.
Yeah, that's why my understanding, my understanding, they weren't gonna, the department heads don't report to them. They can coordinate with them, but they report to us.
Okay, that's a better term.
Yeah,
So
Okay.
coordinate, like I say, the day-to-day, if there's questions, coordinating,
I mean, from my perspective, and I did mention this a little bit when we chatted, I mean, I don't see any issues with anybody here. I mean, we're not making moves to transition people in or out or any of that. It's just
Good.
trying to set it up
Good.
to where it's gonna work a little bit effectively under this new model so that we have
okay.
some sort of day-to-day operational management, basically. And I think
Okay.
we've come to that point.
I think Jacob has.
Yeah, just one point on, I guess, some of the concerns about where an administrator's kind of abilities or authorities they would have. There's that specific statutory list, right? And obviously, we do not have to do everything within that list, but one of those things that you'll see is that the administrator could have the authority to hire, fire, demote, do whatever they need to do with an individual. It sounds like for the commission, that just would be struck.
No.
So any of that kind of really high level, review of department heads of effectively anything that really they could affect the job, that still stays with the commission, and that's my understanding of where it might be, and so maybe that explanation would help.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. That's a question I believe that came up with the three of you when we talked, was what powers, for lack of a better term, or authority would this person have? And from at least two of you, we felt like we had consensus that everything still, we would still report to the commission for positions to be filled, we would still give our updates, and everything is how it is now would continue. But that is one of the questions that we had. It was just a little down further, we were, but it is one of them on our list, absolutely. So.
It's not, as I mentioned, it's not trying to recreate the wheel, it's just trying to keep the wheels moving
Absolutely.
in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, as far as, like I say, the administrator they aren't gonna be hiring or firing department heads. That's,
Right. Right.
and even your employees in your department, that's,
Mhm.
the department heads are in charge of that, working with HR.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Which will be
Mhm.
in that office, but it's not, they don't have the authority telling you who.
No, but.
But
they-
it's
they keep us out of trouble.
it's an advisory position, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, they advise us and keep us out of trouble. Yeah.
When we
but
go
yeah.
to hire an individual department, they may be on that kind of hiring board to help,
Mhm.
shape the discussion or
Mhm.
shape the individual that we will end up hiring, just like we have. I don't know that, like I said, we're trying to climb a mountain necessarily here, but we're trying to
Right.
put some systems into place to make
Mhm.
sure that you guys have the tools that you need to effectively do what you need to do on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
We
Oh,
continue
absolutely.
on.
So, okay, absolutely. I think speaking with with our group, that's kind of what we were hearing, but like I said, there was not, I think you all thought you had a consensus and you didn't quite. So I wanted to
Things
bring
can be
that forward.
fine tuned,
Well, sure. So, and I know this is just discussion time, but just wanted to make sure that you understood that there wasn't consensus there. So.
Okay. But also, I mean, and one of the first things we have to do is write a job description.
Right.
And that we want to work with the department heads to
Sure,
say,
absolutely.
this is what we see them doing. Do you
Mhm.
think,
Mhm.
no, we don't want them doing, we do,
Right.
we're gonna need help here if it's not
Yeah.
covered.
Absolutely. So
That-
once you figure out what this position will be, then we can work on that,
Yeah.
So, but absolutely, I'm sure Elizabeth has already had this in the back of her mind and has thought through some of this, or Michelle or somebody, but yeah, absolutely. So, because we'll be able to help them with what a department head does.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth has really good, we've updated, I know our departments have updated all of our job descriptions in the last several years. And so it's in line with what we do now. So I think we'd be able to get that done. This isn't her first rodeo when it comes to HR. So, but, okay.
I think that some of the job descriptions may have to be altered or modified,
Yeah.
once we have this person look over them
Mhm, mhm.
and give us suggestions, but
Yeah.
we're still the policymakers and
Sure,
tell
sure.
this person
Yeah.
what to do.
Now you're getting me out of my lane.
Yeah.
And I understand my lane, so I'm not, I'm gonna, we'll follow the policymakers, but, when you start getting into some job descriptions that need to be changed, I'm gonna have to bow out of that conversation.
Okay, now who did you say the four people were?
Myself,
Okay,
Corey Meyer,
Okay.
Shiloh Hager, and John Ellerman. We looked at like the 4 different campuses and such, and then, Shiloh to kind of assist with, from the treasurer's office, but also, potentially with some of the elected, if they have some thoughts on this as well.
what do you think about, is that okay with?
Yeah, that's fine,
Okay.
that's what they want. Like I say, it's gonna be easier than trying to deal with 12 people.
Right, absolutely,
No,
absolutely.
we do want insight from everyone,
No, absolutely.
but not all at once.
Well, that was part of what we got out of our conversations, was just that you wanted to be able to hear from us, but you don't want to be overwhelmed. So.
And whenever you guys are finished, obviously, this discussion, but just a reminder that there might be other department heads that.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't mean to cut that short.
Yeah, we went over 5, I think, but you were talking
So
several of them. Okay,
I'll go sit down then.
okay.
Okay. Anyone else have questions?
Forward.
Corey Meyer, ITGIS Director. I'll be a follow-up of where David started. We are curious of your thoughts and coming to a consensus on what this new department, we've kind of used the term administrative services, what all functions will be incorporated into that? You know, any from HR, finance, counselor, PIO, like we would be interested in hearing. Maybe we're kind of hitting the nail on the head there, but we would like to know where you see this.
That's my thoughts with what you said.
I think, yeah, I'm following along with that too.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that helps us in our forward thinking and conversations anywhere from, you know, location of where it might be to how the clerk's office might review their services within there and what they need to do. And then just to the other piece there, to one other question to ask is where you see as far as this will be handled as an internal with HR, or are you looking at going outside as far as when you get to the actual process of hiring, putting out the, you know, the application and so forth? Where do you?
I'm probably gonna want to do that internally. I think we've had a pretty good structure in place to handle that in the past. Once again, I don't see the need to recreate the wheel. We just need to keep it running.
Yeah, are you talking about hiring?
What we actually
from
do.
there
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah,
or
you know, as David Cooper had said, you know, of you know, stepping outside of our internal processes and going about it that way. And I think we feel that it's gone well internally for doing that and so forth. And I think that our HR would be integral in developing the job description and then would lead right into that process. So
And my thoughts are we try to hire internally and, you know, advertise it. If we can't find any, you know, if we don't get anybody that way, then we might have to hire a search firm to go out and look for them. But you know, and I'm sure there's places to advertise that Elizabeth knows where to advertise those types of positions, that there's, you know, I'm sure there'll be people interested. Right?
That's what
I guess I'm in my head.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sure everybody wants to come here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's quite a job.
Everybody wants a chance to work with me, you know, why wouldn't they?
Yes. And then there might be some area that's not clear on how this movement takes place, with there needing to be, or there's a requirement to be, or a statutory or something. We're not exactly sure on this as far as that an interim would need to be appointed or hired for these services to be moved. Is that, and I might not be saying that right. I don't know if they can just be moved separate and direct report if we have to go forward with an interim in this position. I'm not sure where that is on legal or statutory, or that's personal preference of what you're wanting to do. And we were hoping maybe you'd share your thoughts and that, or some clarification on that if there's a legal part to that. We're not sure.
Well, my thoughts, and start with that, I don't see as designating anyone as an interim administrator, moving budget and HR to administrative service. They were there 20 years ago, and I wasn't a county administrator. That's the way I see it. Almost, we're forming a department without a department head during this transition part to figure out how everything works. And obviously we don't have a physical place to move anybody just yet. That's part of that's a part of this whole discussion,
right,
as to how that'll work. And I don't know what.
Administrative services is under county counselor's office, so that would be probably the obvious department head per se, but would go through us.
I think really in the short term, the departments that we work with under administrative services, we as a board need to work with them separately. So that direction should be given there. We just can't do it statutorily because we're a governing body. So
So you're saying statutorily, there does have to be a director or a department head over for this move, even in the interim?
I think that's what we're still trying to figure out.
I think the concern, if I may, the concern there is, without making them a department head, the only way they could actually get direction would be from the commission. And so it can't flow that way unless that happens.
I see, okay. It was, we're just, yeah.
To me, they'd be, officially, Jacob's a department head, but if they, like I said, I don't know how you work around it, but really HR and finance, they want to still work directly with us. They don't have to get approval from Jacob to talk to us.
Oh, what direction you go?
I know, that's what I mean, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, we just didn't know.
Yeah.
How that.
Yeah.
There is no requirement statutorily it has to be. It can be to the commission, just like other department head levels are, but there's no statutory requirement.
So we don't have to call him a department head to report directly to us then, like what I would say in there.
I just
in
need that to be clear, that's not necessarily the reason to do it statutorily.
I'll re-clarify that it's not a blanket ban on that, but as you guys, as a board, you can only effectively govern as a board, can't individually.
Right.
And that's why, so there's no ban as Rich pointed out or anything like that, it's just how that direction flows, how that supervision works. You have to make them a department head in order for you guys to be able to have direct supervision of those individuals.
We have to do that. Did you say, yeah? We don't have to have that, or we do have to?
You would if, again, it's, you guys can only act as a board, right? You can't act individually. So in order, typically under our structure, if you're gonna have authority over a specific individual, I mean, technically you go over every employee of the county, right? But as far as who you guys supervise, it's typically department heads. And that's why we have our staff meetings, and that's how it's structured. So that's what I'm thinking. To make it consistent, you would, in order to have direct supervision, they would have to be a department.
Yeah, it's like day-to-day operations, more so than waiting to come and talk to us.
So it'd be hiring, firing, appointing, demoting, all that. Because right now you guys have delegated anybody below department head, that's the department head's decision.
But effectively, we don't handle all employees because there's employees that are in elected offices that all we control is the personnel.
That's true, yeah, and anybody in separate elected.
I can't go to Shiloh and say, I need you to fire such and such and such. She can say no, and she has the authority to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, same with Rich, same with the elected official.
That makes it a little bit more tricky from time to time.
Yeah, thank you. I think we were just want to understand, structurally and so forth, and the way the business process flows were there, so that, in asking of that, so. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, who's next? Come on, somebody's got to want to. Okay.
Good morning. I would just like to reiterate that I think that all the department heads that our job as department heads are to be individual leaders of our departments. And I think we've been very supportive of this new administrative move. And it's really everybody's job in this room to make sure that it's successful. And I think you have our commitment to that. I do hope that we would have perhaps a voice in the hiring of the new individual. I think it's going to be a big step for the future of Riley County, and hoping that we have a voice in that. But I just wanted to say that we are here to support this move and make sure that it's a positive one. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Barry, you're sitting back there. You have any comment?
Not really, I'll answer any questions, but I work with local county administrators, and I've talked about it before, let's go from Potawatomi County for 20 years, I've worked with the county administrator over there. And obviously worked here for 20 years with Outline, so I'm familiar with both. I have no issues.
See, who else can I tap? Diane, do you have anything to say? No? Okay, anyone else? Ah, John, yeah.
I guess I'm supportive of it all. I worked under administrator for almost 30 years over at Finney County, so I kind of missed that when I came here. Got used to how this works, so I'm okay with that. I guess my big question is, and I know we can't answer or think, but my mind's going, where are we putting these people? Where are we putting the office and how we're doing it? Who's in what? And who do we move to make this all happen, and how do we work it? So I know that's something we need to do as we keep going along. And I appreciate and thank you for letting us, or sounding like you're going to let us be involved in the process, and appreciate that.
And
Putting people is.
and moving people is also, and because we've got the health department study going on and the courthouse thing that could be changing a lot of things. So anything we do this year could be temporary until we get those studies and see where everything's going, for sure. So it's going to be a juggling act for a couple of years to keep everybody straight.
And I've looked at the other building, the third floor employee.
Yeah.
And which would be, you know, there's a lot of things, a lot of files in there, but we could, you know, I've not been into the one room, but that's probably big enough for probably 3 people if we could work on that.
That room is not big enough for 3 people, but the whole adding on to that room would be big enough for 3 people.
Yeah, if we move the kitchen out of it and a couple other things, there might be room. We'll see. I mean, that's a possibility, that space, but we could also go out on the rooftop and have a patio out there. Okay, anyone else want to talk?
Yeah. I thought that was the
You're
same.
not as a person. But you can speak, yeah.
That's fine. The only question I have, because I don't think it was necessarily answered, was timeline. So are you guys wanting to work this into the 2027 budget? Okay.
Yeah.
That's our hope.
Trying to get this done.
I'm just
Yeah.
making sure that
Yeah,
that's the intent.
Well, that's timing's obviously perfect for that to try
Mhm.
to
Yeah, at least
attempt
get-
it. So.
yeah, at least we're getting in the start
Yeah.
instead of having the
Okay.
budget done and then trying to add it at the
Yeah.
end.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Squeeze it in someplace.
Well, if we could get that fit in and know that we have that fit in by the end of summer, then we can develop the rest of it and maybe have somebody hired and ready to go at the beginning of the year to start that budget cycle. That would be ideal. Nothing ever works ideally, but yeah, that's kind of probably aggressive, but yeah.
Now we have to get the job description developed. Do our resolution.
Get to do a resolution to create the position.
Not necessarily created, just formally adopt 2.0.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So we can work on it without having.
Okay, that was my follow-up.
It'll just be, if we want to appropriate any money, about half the resolution.
I think it'll be this year, but looking at next year's budget is possible.
And maybe perhaps that's what they're wondering is how quick you think we can put together a job description? What's the time frame for the work?
If, like I say, I think we need to develop a timeline. Is that an executive session Can we do that, or do we have to do it out here?
No, it have to be out here because we're not talking about any individual, it's just the position itself.
Well, it's not, no, it's more than just a position, it's a reorganization.
Yeah. I mean, it's not for anybody who's already an employee, so we
It's
don't have
not-
to worry about privacy. Right?
Okay, and I don't know, I wasn't trying to keep it secret, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to, it's, you know, trying to juggle everybody, because like I say, we have some ideas on timeline, these guys are gonna have some ideas on what kind of a timeline that we need to work on this, and there's a number of moving pieces to get this all juggled together. And we need, like I say, this is the right time to be starting it rather than December.
Right, yeah.
Commissioner, so I do have experience setting up entire departments and reorganizing organizations and how that you kind of do the reporting structure. So just based on what you've talked to with these department heads and some of their suggestions, it might be wise to decide if you would like one of the commissioners to sit with those department heads. If you allow me to participate, I can give you proposals of job descriptions, examples, you can work through, you can edit, you can change, it'll give you something to start working on. And then you could bring that back then to the board and say, okay, here's 2 directions, or here's our best proposal, and that would get the ball rolling instead of having to have these big open sessions. I mean, we can start working on that right away, once you decide that that's the direction you want to go with a work group and then a proposal. Obviously, Brittany and I are already working on budgets, so we'll have to just kind of order those things in, but when Greg says now's the time, now is definitely the time. So we would really need to get this job description set long before you complete the budget so that we know about how much you want. And then the kind of cascading other job descriptions that you decide may or may not have to be added along with those changes.
Yeah, and you know, we need to decide what, there's some duties, specific duties.
Right.
You know, we need to decide, the commission needs to decide which ones we want to do, and then we can work on.
Yeah.
on
I mean,
some
that's the
description.
thing. Obviously I have access to all of the counties in the state, so that participate. Some of them just don't participate, but we have all kinds of examples that we can take and we can
Sure.
start. And usually it's difficult for people in your position, like the department heads, the direct supervisors, to just imagine up a job description. So if we start with something and then you
Mhm.
say,
Yeah,
no, yes, like, don't like, and we start editing.
Yeah,
it
if you
down.
can find some ones that, was it
And-
Douglas County was one of
Oh,
those?
like the
Douglas
Finney
County
County
one.
one, the Douglas too.
Harvey County's got kind of a similar setup too.
Yeah.
But I
how
mean,
they've
we got a
everybody
kind of a
kinda
rough
hand
description,
under
if you can
one
get the actual job descriptions from each one of those and get
Yeah.
us, so we can start looking at them and, you know, and marking them up to what. we-
Right, exactly.
what
Not
we
that I'm
want and don't
giving
want.
you a final product, but that can get the ball rolling.
Yeah,
for you,
get some,
because-
yeah,
Yeah, and I
Right.
think if you're referring to, we have some descriptions like from the report from David Cooper.
Yeah, he's got, yeah, it's in.
but
in
that's
this.
more gen.
Right,
I mean,
but I
that's
have
the
that.
general description, that's not the actual job description.
No, it's just like what, like Finney County, they
How
say it's
they've
the
kinda got
duty,
it
they
set
have the
up.
duties of that person and,
Yeah.
you know, in several counties and.
Yeah, but at least I know what you're using as a base. I have that copy, and so then I can get into
Yeah, you've
those
got
counties.
this one.
Yeah.
from Lori.
Yeah, we can get a little bit more into, because those are gonna be specifics, and then you can scratch those, or you can, by reading it, you can say, okay, I wanna add
Yeah.
this duty.
You
or
wanna take this one out of here, but and
Yeah,
this one out of
design it
this one.
right.
Well, we also have to add along with that, what our expectation is as far as requirements and qualifications.
Right. I mean,
That'll-
that's
yeah,
the
that'll cover
thing. Like I say, that's well, we wanna see what everybody else does, to
Yeah,
get an
see, kind
idea.
of see what's out there, see best practice, and then make it Riley County what you want
Yeah.
to see, so. Yeah, I mean, we can start doing that right away. I probably can't have anything presented to you or sent to you by the end of the week, but it can be in the next week or so.
Like I say, I mean, just send some options, what other people have done, and we can
Just
just
some
look at
ideas
them.
to get your wheels going
start
and.
Mold them together to what we think. Rich, good.
But I think unless Jacob says differently, you guys will have to have that discussion and get your final draft of what you've done in the work session. So you want her to get you the information, schedule a work session, because that's where you're
Yeah.
gonna find out if there's consensus or not.
Yeah.
About what you want and don't
Yeah.
want.
Okay.
Like I say, we need those to review them before, so we could each
Yeah.
review them before we had a
Yeah.
work
And then
session. So
once you
each one of
time-
us had our ideas and then see how they do and don't line up.
Well, what you can do, I think, and I guess I'm gonna be looking at you, is if I get those to you, you look at them, you mark them up, you send your markups back to me, and if the places where you're aligned, I can draft it.
No, we have to do all that in a work session. We'd have to iron that out in a work.
Yeah, yeah,
session.
you have to have the final.
Yeah, I wouldn't see any worries about your communication with that particular process because she's taking product from you guys individually. She's not communicating what your guys' thoughts are, but we'll just come back with a complete, hey, this is after me considering everybody's comments. This is.
We seem to line up here, but we don't
Yeah,
here.
well, it should be, yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes.
It's easier to work out, not even spend time on the ones you're all. in
Yeah,
agreement.
the ones we all agree on, don't worry about it. Find the other ones to look at.
It'll still come back with a lot of red lines and edits
Yeah.
and comments, because you'll have different opinions, so.
Yeah.
So why don't I do that, get that out to you, and then you guys can, when you get it back, that your draft back to me, I'll know to go ahead and schedule the work session.
Okay, you want us to give you what each of us is
Yeah.
and get to you, and then you look at other job descriptions and possibilities that would fit into those things.
Well, I think I'm understanding it the other way around. I'll give you examples from all the counties you just mentioned, right? We'll
Yeah.
get the counties that you mentioned. I'll give it to you and you can take either, on your computer or handwritten and say, no, don't like that. Yes, this is important. Put this in. I need this duty. Or just basic thoughts too, like, is this a good thing or something then we can discuss when we come back to work session when the three of you are together.
And then each of us would turn those into her and she could say, we all, all three of us align on this one, but we all three are completely different on this line, Yeah, when she comes back to us.
Not serial communication where these two
Correct.
agree this one did, so I'm leaving this out and putting that in,
Nope.
but yeah.
Right, but
No,
just,
sorry.
right, the first draft is saying, you've got these that agree on, there's some more here that we don't, that needs to be a discussion.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not try to come to each of us, say, hey, she wants that, can you change this?
Mhm.
That would not.
No, but I get
be-
that.
That'd be.
Yeah,
Right, that's-
additional educational opportunities.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
I'm good without that additional educational opportunity, that specific. Yeah, so I mean, that might be able to get us going on the timeline because we don't have a lot of time before you have to decide.
As we talk and get the information from the counties, let's inquire about what their process was to actually get the position. Because they may have some best practices that will help us, and they may have some things they did wrong that we want to absolutely stay away from too.
Yeah,
So-
where the pitfalls were, the
Yeah.
blind spots, as we heard earlier.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I've already kind of started because it was a discussion last month about salaries and benefits and things that are coming. Now those are mostly, I guess what I would say, a true administrator that oversees the department heads. So we're gonna have to adjust a little and find the models that you want. There's definitely, I would think, a cost different as far as salary goes in those positions. So. Okay.
And you might, when you send them let us know, like Finney's has been in place for a long time. And I'm sure they've adjusted it as it went. Somebody else we've only had it for a year.
Yeah.
So we don't, we need, the ones that have been in place longer probably held more weight because it's been tested.
Working.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the little I understand from Finney, they've had an administrator for a while, but I think they recently in the last couple of years did some little bit of restructure or addition. At least that's but I'll get their details. I've got the three counties you guys highlighted, and if there's any other good ones, we can get information from. Thank you.
Anything else? Shiloh?
I just wanted to take a second just to say, first of all, I'm also supportive of working with all of you on this, but one of the things that like Brittany brought up was about the budget. And, we know this is going to affect the 27 budget. And I want to commend, Brittany and Elizabeth on how they've always found creative ways to work with the department heads to try to find areas to cut and make sure that we meet the goals that the commission wants as far as, trying to keep the mill levy flat and it's not going to get any easier adding a whole nother position, but I just really would like to encourage you to utilize the experts that you have, that we can hopefully find ways to make this work and not affect the employees, because we've done such a great job trying to make sure our employees are covered with cost of living and the step increases that, you know, that we've built into, that we worked so hard to build into our pay scales, that I would hate to see any of our employees suffer because we have to find money in the budget to cover this additional position. So just something, I just wanted to keep that in mind that, you know, we're willing to work with you on finding those areas, finding, you know, already work really tight, and, you know, this might have some trickle down effects as you maybe pull other people out of the clerk's office that, you know, with, you know, payroll and AP, you know, we may have to find more employees for the clerk's office to cover some of those shortfalls that they might have. So it's going to have a trickle down effect to all of us. And I just would like to just make sure that you know that we're willing to work with you and trying to figure out how we can make this work.
Well, I think we're well on our way, to be honest with you. I mean, we've done reconsolidation, emergency management, so we've kind of eliminated a position there. There's some savings. We've done some things in the health department. I mean, we've figured out some ways to do it. I think it's very much so possible without having to upset the rest of the model that's in place. But we have to first make sure that that is the priority over everything else, and that we recognize that as an organization. And then two, you know, we work on the fine tuning the credentials of that and getting it down. I think Elizabeth's probably right. We need to put that horse in front of the cart first and go from there. But yeah, I agree with you. We plan on using the people and their expertise for sure.
Great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, I guess I conclude this discussion. Okay. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, everybody.
I'm like I say, we're open to ideas, anything, anybody has any thoughts on these things,
Yeah, we do. It's important we all
it's a
talk.
learning experience for all of us.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, do we have anything else at this point? And we want to discuss this further or what?
No. Might want to start looking at some things from a legal and statutory perspective on how it will align. But I mean, outside of that, that's about all we can do until we have something of some substance to work with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm planning on latch on and anything else is going, and just kind of, if there's anything that comes up.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I think that we need to work on this move as soon as we can, at least the move into your office and administrative.
Conversation. Or two more votes you can. There you go.
So,
I can't hear over all the noise. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We know how structured overall, we know how to hire people, so we can get that corrected, you know, get our internal systems. And as a person who would be reporting this news, I'm still confused about how that will work. I hear like you're gonna report to the commissioners, but Jacob's department head, and you know, just how that works day to day, I think is unclear for me.
It's unclear to me too. I thought I had it, but
Yeah.
some stuff he said it doesn't align with what I thought.
Yeah.
So we've got to get the, we got to do it legally, not just how I want it.
Well,
Right.
I guess there's a point to that. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I talked to you in intern as well, and I just, we need to figure it out. We just
Yeah.
need to-
I'm good.
I think there's
That's
something
the
we have to
question.
do statutorily, and it's going to be a little different than how we're going to do it organizationally in the short term.
Yeah, I mean, you're explaining it, or I understand it, we just can't, same as everyone else, with departments, we can't go and say, John, you're my supervisor.
Right.
Yeah.
no, we have to have somebody.
Together.
Right.
Yeah, have
Oh,
one
yeah.
person.
But I mean, you don't have to, I just don't understand how it's different, like how any other department.
I mean,
The department.
it's not, it's been done here. Where commissioners had an employee that wasn't in the department. So you can do it a number of different ways, it's not statutory.
So in
But
that.
there's, well, I mean, really, what you're talking about is not the details that these guys want to take time and work on, it's really not the time for this discussion.
Yeah, but we just need to clarity when we.
We'll get there. Okay. Do we have anything else? I know we've got a lot more to talk about, and do everything else today.
That's just it. There is.
Far from settled, and we far from have all the details figured out, and we'll get there. Change is difficult. We recognize that. We're really recognizing that, but we'll get there. Yes. Right. Yep. Anything else? No? Okay, well, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we adjourn the March 5th meeting of the Riley County Commission.
Second.
Somebody been seconded to adjourn the March 5th meeting of the Raleigh County Commissioners. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.